Hello, and welcome back to Diving Deep with Deepak and Darrah, where we make the deep relatable and translatable into your life in a relatively quick amount of time. Deepak, I want to talk about something we hearkened to in another episode about love and the path to love. And you have coined the idea of the 7 stages of the mirror of relationship. Can you break down those 7 stages for us and help us better understand true love?
Okay, I'll do my best in 5 minutes, and then later we can do a conversation on each of those stages. Okay?
Yeah.
So the basis of all relationship is that it's a mirror. That every relationship you have with another person or with anything actually, a situation, a circumstance, an event, a person, society, is ultimately a mirror of your relationship with your own self. So look around you and see what's happening to you right now in your world, in your relationships, and that's right this moment the perfect mirror of who you are, period. Okay, so given that, in wisdom traditions that deal with consciousness and a deeper understanding of what consciousness is, there are these following 7 stages that are understood as the path to love based on the mirror of relationship, given what I've said. The first stage is what we call attraction or repulsion. So we are attracted to those people in whom we find traits that we have, but we want more of. And so we enjoy being in their company because somewhere in the background of our mind is, I want to be like that. Okay, I am like that, but I want more of that. So that's why we hang out with people who reflect the traits that we have, whatever they are. That gets tiring sometimes for relationships because if people are hanging out with you all the time because they want your energy, then you will get depleted of that energy. So at a certain point, that understanding actually can be destructive because people get tired of having their energy depleted. The key to understanding this is if you find those traits in another and you become those traits, then the relationship will blossom. So instead of looking for the right person, you become the right person, and then the right person shows up. That's all you have to do. Just be the right person. Similarly, if you are repelled by someone, if you find somebody, think of someone and you definitely don't want to go to Fiji or Hawaii or Guatemala with them, then that person reflects traits that you're denying in yourself. So you should write down all the things that you dislike about them: greedy, selfish, self-concerned, narcissistic, and then ask yourself, am I like that? And if you're totally honest with yourself, you'll see that under stress, you can be exactly like that. There's no difference between you and the person that so repels you or creates these. So now this first stage, which I call attraction repulsion, as the mirror, helps you understand yourself. I want to be like that person, and I want to face those traits in myself so I can forgive that person, not because he deserves forgiveness, but I deserve peace. And I can only get that if I actually acknowledge that I can be also like that. That moves us to the second stage, which is a deep connection. And that second stage, deep connection, comes if you practice things that you see infatuated lovers doing. And what do? They hang on to each other's words. Okay, they listen with unabated attention. So that's called deep listening or attention. The second is affection, deep caring. You're there for that person irrespective. The third is appreciation. You notice their good traits, even as you notice their weak traits and notice them in yourself. And the fourth is acceptance. You don't try to change them. You treat them like just as they are. And because you have those traits too. So this is now the second stage, deep connection. The third is communion, which is a soul-to-soul connection. The fourth is intimacy. The fifth, along with intimacy, is sexuality. The sixth is surrender. The seventh is passion. And then the final stage is ecstasy. So we can discuss those next time.
I love the cliffhanger. I said I love the cliffhanger. You're really baiting us for the future.
Oh, yeah, that's called a cliffhanger, yes.
Perfect. So as Deepak says, tune in when we'll do some future episodes.
Next time, we'll carry on with this conversation.
Absolutely. So I love what you're saying. And just to make this personal, I know exactly all of these things from a personal experience, and it took me a long time to understand it. Like I remember being in previous relationships outside of my current one and having cheating and emotional abuse and other things and wondering, why is this happening? And it took a lot of self-reflection to understand that I was attracting exactly what I thought I deserved. And I was getting exactly where my confidence and idea of self were in that moment. And that's what was being attracted to me. And I kept repeating the pattern until I recognized it and it finally broke.
You know yourself. It's very difficult to know yourself because of all these shadows. But when you go past yourself, knowing yourself is the most important thing because everything else is a reflection. And the world is a reflection.
So sorry. Have you ever read Harville Hendrix' work on the imago image?
No.
Oh, it's great. He similarly talks about this, and I'll shout out his book to anyone who's curious. It's called Keeping the Love You Find. And I believe that's the title. But Harville Hendrix, I believe it's one of his first books.
I know him. I know who the person is.
Wonderful.
But I haven't read the book. I will.
He talks in a similar construct about how the person that you're with in this type of relationship, in any relationship really, but he talks specifically about a partnership in a romantic, I'm using that word incorrectly, but romantic sense, as truly and fully being there to help mirror back to you that which are growth areas for you.
Yeah.
And that is not always fun, and that is not always easy. But if we are all trying to evolve, which I'm trying to do, and I know that you're trying to do, relationships are a really great way to do it.
Yeah, but it's not just personal relationships. It's relationship with everything in the world is a mirror.
Can you go deeper on that?
Yeah, your relationship with money is a relationship with yourself. Your relationship with business is a relationship with yourself. Relation with society, with ideologies like democracy or communism or whatever, they're all ultimately a reflection of who you are and what your values are. You may not know that, but once you start looking at that very carefully, there's a lot of clarity on how to deal with any relationship and resolve any conflict. We can talk about that too.
Perfect.
But there's a lot more to talk about.
As always, there's always so much to talk about with you. So I'm curious, as the second part of our conversation and in tandem with the first part, how did you choose your wife? How did you decide I want to marry? Is it Rita? How did I decide to marry Rita?
Yeah, I already told you. I wanted her to notice me and she asked me, do you like the Beatles?
That was her. You didn't specify that it was Rita. You said a girl.
That's it.
That's funny.
I was at her college and I was debating, which is another thing I do. And I'm going to give up because I find nobody changes their mind anyway. So I went to her school. I was in medical school, and that's how it started.
And then how did you decide to marry her?
Her aunt was a patient in the hospital where I was getting my training as a medical student. And she used to visit the aunt, and I used to hang out.
And that's all it took?
I used to just hang out with the patient, pretending I was interested in the patient, who was her aunt. Actually, it was the aunt's idea. The aunt had a terminal disease and died of it ultimately. But before she passed on, we had already established our relationship.
She was a matchmaker.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, everyone, we've learned a lot about love today and the 7 stages of the mirror of love. We're going to get into that more in the future. If you liked things in this episode or want to know more from us in future episodes, like this, comment, let us know how we can be helpful to you in the future. Subscribe to our channels where we're going to release more videos every single week. And if you want more from us, then sign up at lifebydesignsummit.com/Deepak. Link is here as well, to get a free session and masterclass with Deepak and I on how to live a more meaningful life, which also comes with a really powerful guided meditation. Lastly, you can find us on the gram and you can find us on Twitter at Deepak Chopra and at Darrah. See you next time.